We did it in the open. What you heard, I heard. What I heard, you heard. Wasn't no backroom meeting with Schumer and Green and them. They come right here. Geraldine Ferrara, all of them. I don't care how big they were, because none of them bigger than me nohow. All right. I want to remind you, Santita Jackson will be in a play this Friday, the 13th, and Sunday, the 15th, 7:30 p.m. and 4:30 at Aaron Davis Hall over CCNY. I want you to support it. It's in the program. You call and get tickets. Don't forget Thursday nights here is game night. Support our sports. Right after, about 40 minutes, we're going down and have a vigil. A young man that was a victim of a brutal act. I'm going to outline, so I don't want anyone to leave. We're going to hear some more of I see our district leaders here. I want to hear from her, Sister Teresa Freeman, who come out of this movement. I don't know what she sitting in the background for us. The war horse of Long Island's here, Serena McKnight, and Virginia Montague, who's preaching here in a couple of weeks, but I want to hear from her. She's preaching next week. She already got on her yellow preaching outfit today. But next I want to bring on a young lady who's no stranger to us. We kind of grew up in politics together, and she is a sister that every time we've called, whether we were going to Albany to have a tent city or walk to Albany around budget cuts, whatever we were doing, she was there. And like Larry has said, there has been times that we did not have a lot of elected officials. In fact, we would call a meeting of elected officials, Camille, and we could have it in my office. Because there wasn't but 2 or 3 of them. And one of them was on the phone denying they were there. You know, we used to come out with Jose and Larry, and we had one friend that we noticed every time we get to the door, he said, now, you know, I got a meeting, I'll leave. He would get to my office, but he never did quite get to the stage. This Fort Perkins got elected now. I ain't picking on Perkins. And y'all know David and I grew up together. David and I the same age and all that. So I'm not talking about President Company. I know y'all start talking, who are you talking about? I'm not talking about none of that. But y'all know that some of our folks it took 100-something thousand votes to sober them up. All right. That's all right. But I can't wait to watch the news tonight when they ask Rudy what he think about Schumer was at the House of Justice. But y'all just tell Rudy his man lost. And I'm trying to send him wherever we send him D'Amato. But I want to bring you this sister, state senator from Queens and Brooklyn. They gave her 2 boroughs. She's that bad. Senator Ada L. Smith.
Good morning. Good morning. First, I want to thank you for that 94.9% victory. And I'm still looking for that other 5.1% that went to this man that I've never met. I want to follow up on something that our Congressman Serranos, or was it my buddy over here from East New York, that claims that I didn't endorse him. But you gotta ask before you can get an endorsement.
Will you endorse me?
I will definitely discuss the possibilities with you immediately. We talk about Floyd Flake and Calvin Butts delivering. But if you look at the votes that came out of the 6th congressional district that Floyd once represented, no longer represents, the 29th Assembly District, the 31st Assembly District, the 32nd Assembly District, those votes did not come from those districts. So it tells me that he didn't control anything. And I think that Reverend Evan Gray can attest to that since he was a candidate in the 31st. Now, I didn't look at the statistics from Harlem. We're all very parochial. But I want to thank you also for something else you did for us as state senators. It was because of the black vote and the Latino vote in Staten Island that it enabled us to keep Vincent Gentile in the New York State Senate and to fight back an onslaught of money and all of the Republican power coming into Staten Island and Bay Ridge, trying to take back a seat that does not belong to them. All right. I want to thank you for allowing us to have David Paterson as the deputy minority leader. And I want to thank you now for making it possible for him to soon become the majority leader. And it will be your votes that sends Larry and I to join Joe Serrano in the halls of Congress. We can't do it without you. And when we start thinking we can, that's when you should turn us out. God bless you.
Then we're going to be crowded halls in the near future. We're going to make those hallways in Millbrook look like nothing, right? Ladies and gentlemen, in 1990, when I ran for the Congress in a special election, as you recall, my opponent in the special election was a Republican. He was an African American. He was a millionaire.
Well,
Two of those two things don't make sense. But and the leadership in the African American community stood with me. One of the main reasons why I got to Congress. And one of the people who stood with me against that candidate who used to run in every congressional district in the city. One of the people who stood with me is the senator from Harlem. He stood early and he introduced me to a whole community in Harlem that had both a few dollars and a lot of votes in the Bronx. I don't forget those kinds of things. So he may be introduced today with all kinds of other titles that are important.
well,
But the most important title to me is that of friend, amigo. That when I needed him, he was there, and he's never left my side. Senator David Paterson.
Congressman Serrano, Reverend Sharpton, Reverend Walker, and to all the elected officials here, and Senator Seabrook and Senator Smith, my colleagues, you know, no matter how many elected officials there are on this stage, Reverend Sharpton's event wouldn't have looked so great if there weren't some other people in the room. So I think now that we've all been introduced, you need to give yourselves a hand for coming here early, supporting Reverend Sharpton every week. You can give yourselves a hand, but not everybody is going to speak. The most important thing I think we in elective office have to think about are we, because we had a big victory on Tuesday, as politicians so often do, actually going to believe that elections are the only thing that changes our plight in the society, because they do not. The most important activity that has ever served assistance to the African American and Latino communities is not voting. It is political protest. In addition to political protest, it's economic sanction, boycotts. In addition to that, it's pursuing actions in the courts. It's legislation, passing laws. And it's probably something even more important than all the others, it's publicizing events. There was a horrible incident of police brutality right on the streets outside this building. And today, Reverend Sharpton is going to publicize that event to draw attention so that everyone in this city knows that it happened. There are so many hate crimes that you never even heard about. The only reason we knew about Howard Beach is because Reverend Sharpton told us about it. The only reason we knew about Bensonhurst is because Reverend Sharpton marched there 29 times and almost lost his own life there. But we never knew about a case in Queens, the Michael Phillips case, a young African-American male who was killed at the age of 16 on May 24th, 1981, because he and his friend rode a bike into the wrong community. 2 years later, one of the members of the mob came forward and admitted that he was part of the attack that killed Michael Phillips. And there's a young Italian man named Danny Basile. He testified allegedly under secrecy in a preliminary hearing in the Queens District Attorney's Office where I worked, so that we could try to get the people who were really responsible for killing Michael Phillips. 3 months after he testified, he was murdered in Queens. This is a case you never knew about, never heard about, because it was before Reverend Sharpton's activism. So as we move back to remembering after the voting that we have to vote more, we have to bring out more votes in our community, but there are other avenues of change that we can be involved in. I can't think of any issue that we would approach the new senator, Senator Schumer, and whoever is the new senator 2 years from now, then the issue that continues to gall me for the last 7 years. In December of 1991, I held a press conference in front of City Hall to announce the discovery that the federal government had covered up the fact that when they were building a new federal office building, they had found 415 remains of our ancestors in the oldest African burial grounds ever discovered in history. And the information that's come from that burial grounds has actually, for the first time, confirmed the West African countries to which we were native, and we learned more about African history in the 17th and 18th centuries just from the archaeological study of that burial ground than anywhere else. But we were promised a suitable memorial to our ancestors, a museum to the ancestors, so that we could have the same type of herald and heritage that the other communities in the city had. And we never got any cooperation from Senator D'Amato's office, and let's put it on the table, we never got any cooperation from the Democrat Senator Moynihan either. And President Clinton, I know we came out to support you. Now why don't you support us? The first thing we need to do is to use our congressional representatives who've been there, like Congressman Serrano and Congressman Meeks, and we need to put pressure immediately to make sure that the Department of General Services gives us back what we were promised and gives it back to us now, as I thank you for having me here today.
Senator David Paterson. Now, many of you watch monster movies. And you know there's a monster called Frankenstein. But Frankenstein is named after the doctor that created him. Now, y'all up here talking about people that are fellow colleagues of mine in the clergy. I want to introduce you to the man who made Floyd Flake. He's a board member of National Action Network, pastor of Bethesda Baptist Church. He's the pastor of the Sneed family. Dr. Frankenstein, Reverend Charles Norris.
With a friend like Reverend Sharpton, I certainly don't need any enemies. But let me say this. I think that there's something that we always do, I'm sure we do, as Christians. That is, have honest confession. They tell me it's good for the soul. Yes, we had a lot to do with making and maintaining Floyd H. Flake. We had a lot to do with it. And the thing that we were proud of at one time if you know me long enough, you know I'll say it. I may have to run after I say it, but I'll say it.
I got your background.
Thank you. But we were proud at one time that he took care of what we thought was our district. But from what I understand, and I think the congressman could correct me on this, that it usually takes 500,000 people to make a congressional district. We found that the Congressman Flake, when he was, took care of 10,000 of those people in that district. And I always say this to Floyd, he's a brilliant man, took care of his people. But my question to him has always been, what happens to the other 490,000 people in the district? And if you read my letter that Senator, my brother Meeks helped me to write in the Amsterdam News some time ago, you found that we referred to it as Allenville. And after Allenville, we wanted to know where were we in the community. But that's not what I came here for today. Since you mentioned that and mentioned my name, I have to defend what we do or what we have done. And since then, we've just prayed for the brother. And we'll continue to pray for the brother. Happened to have been in his church just Thursday. But I was glad that Wyatt was there, because Wyatt was saying all the things I wanted to say, and I didn't have to say them right there in the same community with him. But that's not why we're here. We can't cry over spilled milk. We cannot do that. We must go ahead. And that's where I hope that we're going to go now. But I want to confess this, that 6 years ago, the organization of which I serve as its executive secretary endorsed Al D'Amato. Yes, we did. You might have heard me on radio in the last few days of his candidacy or running for that office. I'm Charles Norris, and I want you to come out and vote for Senator Al D'Amato. We did that. I did that. What a mistake it was. We were promised access to him. We made an effort to get to him after he was elected, and he referred us, of course, to his contact person in Queens. I happen to serve on the Queens Legal Service Board, of which his access person is the chairman of that board. And I've said to Joe Farber, Joe, I have a program I want you to show to the senator to see if we can have it come through Southeast Queens Clergy for Community Empowerment. Nothing, say it again, my sister. Nothing happened. Absolutely nothing happened. And for that cause, we might have stumbled along the way in getting to Senator-elect Schumer. And I say stumble along the way because I happen to have sat on the panel that questioned those persons who were here seeking out our help, our aid, and our assistance to be elected. And we may not have endorsed him at that time. But the one thing that we have learned is that you may not win every battle, but you have to come together to help win the war. And brothers and sisters, we won the war Tuesday. That war we won. Yes, we did. And because of that, we really didn't endorse Mr. D'Amato this time. We endorsed, of course, Senator-elect Schumer. And we would trust that what we looked for in Mr. D'Amato was only one thing: access. And if we will not get access from Mr. Schumer, I'll be right back here, the Lord willing, 6 years from now, saying he needs to go as well. But we were privileged. I happen to have been privileged to have him at Bethesda Church, maybe at least 18 months ago, when he started running for this senatorial spot, accompanied by Vivian Cook and Yvonne Reddick. Those two ladies brought him to Bethesda Church. And I had him to speak, and I introduced him as who could be the next senator for the state of New York. As the Lord would have it, as your votes would have it, as Reverend Sharpton would have it, as Congressman Serrano would have it, he is now the senator-elect from this state. And I say to all of us, if we do not have access, if we cannot get to him to say to him what we want and then see that it's produced, I'm the kind who say, well, we don't need him anymore.
That's right.
But I happen to have the kind of feeling that Chuck Schumer, you know why I think that? What's his real first name? What's my real first name? Charles Norris. And we got a good one here in Charles Sharpton. He doesn't tell you that very often, but that's what his middle name is. So we seem to think that he's going to be a good senator from this state. And as I said before, finally, if we don't have access, if we do not have access, we must come and say to him, he can't serve us anymore. I'm proud of this in Queens. When Mr. Dinkins ran the second time, we were disillusioned by a lot of white folk in Queens County who did to Mr. Dinkins what the South did to Mr. what is his name? When he was running for president, Carter, when he ran for re-election. They promised openly that they would support Mr. Carter, went in the booth and pulled the lever for Mr. Reagan. Many people in Queens did the same thing for Mr. Dinkins. And then there were some of us who decided to stay home because Dave didn't come to our club. We have to get past that. And I'm sure that we are now. Because when we saw the record of how we voted, in spite of what that other preacher said in Queens, in spite of what that other preacher said in Queens, I can't talk about the one in Harlem because I live in Queens, but even in spite of him, we got a victory, and we should be proud of what we did in getting out the vote and showing that together we can make a difference all across this country. Last night, I'll say this and I'll be finished. Last night, I was attending a rally, and Brother Gray was there, called by Jim Butler in support of the hospitals and Local 420. In my remarks, I mentioned that I had heard on the radio that Mr. Gingrich was thinking about not running. When the executive director was called of District 37, Mr. Hill, he had already received a call on his cellular phone that it had happened, that Mr. Gingrich had resigned. So things can happen in a second. And it's just how the Lord moves. And doesn't he move in mysterious ways? His wonders to perform, cast his footstep on the sea, and rise on every storm. All we got to do is stand by and see the salvation of the Lord.
Charles Sharpton and
Yes.
Charles Schumer. And I may change my name to Jose Carlos, just so I can fit in here. Let me tell you a quick story. Before it wasn't true, like Reverend Al had taken a little poke at Councilman Perkins. So when he gets up and starts talking about monsters and monsters looking like a monster maker, you should have seen the councilman was going deeper and deeper and deeper into the sea. He swore that was his introduction. And when Sharpton went on and introduced the Reverend, then Perkins went, oh. But let me tell you something. Let me tell you. You are quickly gaining a reputation for being a coalition builder in the council. So I saved you today. I took care of it. I quickly jumped to the... Ladies and gentlemen, he was introduced here as someone that could be already in a fight for Speaker of the City Council. I mean, this is serious stuff. So you see that you'll notice lately he's making visits into the Bronx, into Queens. He was seen in a Hollywood motion picture. Anything is possible now. May I introduce him in a little bit of Spanish by saying William Guillermo Bill Perkins, the City Council.
Muchas gracias, hermano. Me llamo Guillermo Perkins. Soy el concejal in Harlem. Good afternoon, brothers and sisters. Let me say to my good brother Charles Barron, who started this Perkins thing this afternoon. You know, Charles and I go back a long, long way, and it's interesting, Reverend, because when we really started working together was when one of the brothers in the neighborhood by the name of Henry Woodley was murdered by a police officer. And Brother Charles came over and worked with me to organize the neighborhood to publicize that, Senator, and to make sure that the community was mobilized and that some justice could be taken for that. So Charles and I go back a long, long time, and he's always treated me like that. So I want you to understand that when you get ready to run, I'll be there. All right? Now, when you get into the council, we'll be working together, and I'll give you the assignment of the committee that you'd like. You know, I had a wonderful experience just before the election. I went on the circuit with Reverend Al Sharpton of cable TV and radio shows to get out the vote. And it was really wonderful. If you ever have a chance to hang out with Reverend Sharpton doing media and doing TV, you'll find it can be a very, very exciting event. He picks on me all the time, too. He almost announced that I was running for Congress and had Senator Patterson and Assemblyman Wright beat me up. But one of the things that happened in the course of these live shows, and I want to give WLIB a great round of credit, and Brother Gilchrist also, because he did us live on this cable show, for opening up their stations and having at least a week or two of nonstop get out the vote dialogue. And it wasn't always in agreement with what it was that we were talking about. Some of it was right down the line that Brother Barron was talking about in terms of why are we bothering to vote when we know that these people that we vote and elect are not going to be as loyal to us as we are to them, because it was a strategy, late though it may have been, that the black and Latino vote was the base vote, and that the state party needed to organize itself to make sure that that base vote got out. It was late, but it was on time, because in fact that's what happened, and all of us need to feel very good about that. But one of the things that was very, very important for me to hear was folks talking about, well, after we win and after we come out, are we going to be at the table? Are the candidates going to come back home? So for less than a week later, Senator Schumer to be here in Harlem, accounting for what happened in such a way that it acknowledged the input of our community, I think is very, very commendable, of Reverend Sharpton and of people in this room, because if he didn't have to come back here, he wouldn't have come back in, so he really understands what the deal is. One of the other things that I want to just point out is our Senator Schumer pointed out that there was a dagger that went into the heart of the divisiveness in the campaign that the model was trying to run, and it killed him. And that dagger went so far as to kill Newt Gingrich. And I hope, Councilman, that we can get that dagger to go down to City Hall. So that, because you know we have over $200 million of money that my councilmen and other councilmen in our community have appropriated to this community and to communities in the Bronx for senior citizens programs, for youth programs, for educational programs, for economic development programs, and those funds have been kidnapped by this mayor and are being held hostage by this mayor because we wouldn't give him $1 billion to build a Yankee Stadium in Manhattan. And as a result, the Neighborhood Defender Service, which represents folks in our community, is going out of business or on the verge of going out of business. And other programs, youth programs, senior programs, educational programs that service the people in this community and in all of our communities are on the verge of going out of business because of the fact that this mayor is holding those monies hostage. As the senator pointed out, we need to publicize that, we need to organize around that, and we need your support to make sure that that money comes home. Now, one final thing before I get off. One other issue, Senator, that is very, very important, especially for those of us in Harlem, is what this mayor is doing about the mart on 125th Street. This mayor tried to get us to give that mart over to him to use as he would want and to evict the brothers and the sisters that were there for the last 12 or more years with a commitment that in some way they would be able to gain some ownership and some management of that space. We denied him that on October 14th in the city council through the land use committee that I sit on. Now, he has decided to serve them with 30-day eviction notices, informing them that by the end of November 30th, they had better be out of there, otherwise he's going to take them to court. We are going to be having hearings. We're going to try to have those hearings up here in the Harlem community so that that action can be stopped, so that that mart, which was intended to be for the people from this community who want to do business, will continue to be for the people in this community to do business, and that will be able to be done in a way that will represent the needs and the aspirations of the people in this community, because we know that the way things are going now in our community is good. It is good. There's a lot of good things going on in Harlem right now from the point of view of development, but there are some signs, especially on the economic development side, that those of us that are not rich, that are not well connected, may be left out of the mix. That mart is not going to be used that way. We're going to need your support. Thank you very much.
All right, we're going on to Joe Hassel and others, but right now, I know some of y'all are weighted down, so I'm going to raise the offering. I don't want y'all to feel all left out, that y'all didn't have nothing to do on the program, and I know that you want to leave some money. One of the things that I think is important, somebody bring the basket forward. Give a hand to our young ladies that do our ministry for the hearing impaired. One of the things that becomes important, and Brother Perkins mentioned it, perception is also part of a political reality. When I travel around the country, I spoke last night for the Pittsburgh NAACP. Unless they see people acknowledge and understand our power of Virginia, they feel like we don't have any. CNN is here this morning. When they show around the country Schumer had to come here, it shows the strength of our community. If they go to everywhere but us, it also debunks our strength. And we must be mature enough, William, good to see you, William Allen, we must be mature enough and disciplined enough to tell people that they got to come to us, rather than be jumping on the stage election night, knocking each other down. It was embarrassing to ever see Negroes knocking each other, trying to get their head in the camera. People call me at home and say, what you do at home? I said, I wait till they come to me. Get up on a stage, falling off the stage, trying to skin and grin. No. If you put people in, you demand respect. You don't be trying to, and then you talk about what you talk about. And that's why I did what I did this morning and told him he got to come. I'm going to have a Thank King Day, where I want the congressional folk and the senator here, where we're going to do the talking to them on what we want. Like we did last King Day. That's what we must mature our community about. So I want to raise our offering. And Bill Perkins, I got him in trouble about mentioning Congress, but I didn't mean that, Bill.
But you mentioned on my phone.
But I didn't mean to tell people that you were running for Congress. Nor did I mean to tell them that you working with Chrissy on Khalid Muhammad Day in the city council. I think it's wonderful, but I'm not supposed to talk about that. Just let us know the date, though, and we'll be there. Give him a big... See, David said with Shopton on his side, he ain't got no problem. I want to raise our offering. I made a commitment that I'm keeping. I give a percentage of what I make to the organization, and for 99, we're going to be doing that. And I'm not interfering with y'all's tithes. before Reverend Norris kicks me from behind. But I do want people that will.
I gotta get paid too.
Yeah. I do want people that'll be committed. I see also, please come up, our board member, the pastor of Freedom Hall, Bishop Riley, Bishop Cecil Riley. I didn't see him. Please join us up here. Reverend Evan Gray from Far Rockaway. Glad to see you. I'm going to raise the offering and we're going to hear from our district leaders, and then we're going to go into this vigil on police brutality. The women are serving lunch today. Oh, I'm sorry, the choir. Lord have mercy. They sure made that straight. The choir has lunch right here. You don't have to go nowhere to spend your money. You can get it here cheaper and better. And the women's auxiliary is going to work. The women are meeting, I said that, and the choir is cooking, I said that. Anything I didn't say? All right, now, I need some money. Can you help me with that? Next Saturday, one of the things that I want to be very clear about, I don't have a person in the world I respect more than a young brother who rose up in the industry of syndication and became #1 and has been slandered because he tried to bid against Weston. Not against Percy Sutton, but Weston. And I think that we as a community need to make it clear that first of all, everybody ain't gonna live forever. And we need to have every generation be stronger. And the elders ought to support them, not try to abort their birth. The African Heritage Network and Frank Mercado are intricate parts of our community of which we are proud. He's a member of our board, and next week I want to honor him. But I want to send word to those attorneys and others that slander him that nobody supports Percy Sutton more than me, but I'm not going to see the good name and reputation of a young, budding entrepreneur giant in our community in any way, shape, or form be besmirched. Brother Frank Mercado Valdez. I support him. I support Mr. Sutton and did here. So did Frank. But there are others that think you can't compete without being nasty and lying and slanderous. And I've been slandered. I've had people lie on me. Yes, sir. If you got a battle with me, fight me. But don't lie on me. Yes, sir. And don't have me explain to my children distortions and stuff. We have to fight too hard to get to first base. That those of us that's been there should have the dignity of not trying to put impediments in each other's way. And I don't care who you are, I will stand against us doing that. We need young black men with that kind of genius and ingenuity like Frank Mercado. Give him a big hand. All right, I'm going to start our offering. I want at least six people this morning to give $100 or more. I need at least 6 people. I'm gonna start myself with over $100. But I need 6 other than me. That's why I'm saying 6, because I need at least 700. Don't nobody move right now unless you bring me $100. If you move right now, it's gonna cost you a yard. Paul Rodriguez, $100. Reverend Evan Davis, Reverend Evan Gray, $100. The choir and their treasurer is Dominique Shopper. I mean, they got a whole lot of faith. $100. Frank Mercado, $100 more dollars. $124 for the choir. Oh, John worked on my campaign. One of the treasures of my campaign. Brother John, $100. Come on, I need 2 more hundreds. I need 2 more hundreds. I need 2 more hundreds.
Come on, Larry, get up.
I need 2 more hundreds. Serena McKnight, $100. Bill Perkins, $100. David A. Patterson, $100. Now, I can start a competition for who want to be the next congressman. I got 110. Do I hear 120?
$200.
I can raise the budget just Serena McKnight, $100. Come on, I need one more hundred. I need one more hundred. Our CPA accountant is here, and he knows how much debt we stay in. I call him on Monday morning, and he just cries for the first half hour. I can't get a word out. He just hang over the desk, sobbing and crying. I know they're gonna lock me up for abuse of accountants.
This is for that lady right there.
Dr. Romona Whalen. Oh, no.
What's your name?
Oh, Sister Emily, the track star from Hempstead, $100. And Juanita, I didn't get the 50s yet, but I'll take it just in case you don't feel like walking back. All right, now I need 50s. I need 50s. Give me 20 50s, 20 50s. Ada Smith, $50. Senator Ada Smith. Ed Barnes, $50. Virginia Montague, $50. Come on, I need 20. Brother Faison, our membership chairman. Sister Geraldine Badger, $50. Come on, I need 10 more. I keep counting money now. 10 more 50s, 10 more 50s. If you don't have 50, borrow from the person next to you. Tell me bring it back next Saturday. Sit in the same seat. Reverend Dennis Dillon, publisher of the Christian Times, 50 Christian Times dollars. I need 9 more. I need 9 more. I need 9 more. All of these boxes around, I want y'all to know we're not untidy. This is stuff going to Haiti and Puerto Rico this week. They leave it on the 11th. Then we're going to start a drive for Honduras. Sister Teresa Freeman, our district leader, giving $50. What you looking for? Change? We don't get no change here. Where y'all get him from? Brother, whatever they put in there, that's the end of that. Kim from Asbury Park, $50. Well, I got to shoot him up here that lost his mind, so I give him change. Only thing change we do here is from one hand to the plate. All right, $20. You that didn't have 50, didn't have a, oh, wait, hold it, come on. I ain't gonna close the door. Thank you. You that didn't have 50 or 100, $20. You give $20, come forward quickly. I'll take 25 from you, Reverend, thank you. Thank you. Sister Cunningham, one of our best members, thank you. Dr. Whaley, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you. Joe Haslip, our district leader, thank you. Ben Brown, I take 30 from the congressman, thank you. All right. Here they go. Now Perkins and Patterson going to the ATM machine, bring me my money back. Give me one of the watchmen to walk with him. Shirley Castello, good to see you. Thank you.
I'm telling you, they're going to bring it back now.
Daddy, thank you. All right, now everybody, whatever you have, $1, $5, $10, your watch, your ring, whatever Faustin can pawn for the movement, bring it on. Thank you, everybody. Everybody.
I can't do that twice.
From last week.
That's right. I like it too. How you feel? All right.
And this is it, November. All right. Everybody. Do not leave. We're going to hear from our district leaders, and then we're going to deal with the incident that happened in front of the building.
I'll get a piece. I'll give it to you.
All right. Everybody. It has to be after. Yeah. Everybody, everybody. All right. If you can wait, I'll do it. You'll have to be, because the schedule? About 1:15. Yeah, I know. Everybody say. Everybody say the butt man. Everybody say. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Sing it like you mean it. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. Everybody sing. We beat the bottle. Got good secrets. I'm looking for Rudy. Unity party. On my way to City Hall. Everybody say. One last time, y'all. One last time, y'all. One last time, y'all. Yeah. All right. Gonna call to the microphone young man who began as a young district leader. No one knows where he may end up. He has the talent and the vision and the ability. I've known him for a long time, and I want you to hear our brother, our friend, District Leader Joe Haslett.
Hello, everybody. I said hello, everybody. Just making sure you're with me. I just want to say that yesterday I had the opportunity to glance through the New York Times. And they had a very interesting article in there. The article talked about how the power of the black vote just didn't help in New York City and state, but it played a major role all over the nation. And it made a long list of white United States senators and governors who owed their election to the black vote. The article tried to imply, but didn't come right out and say it, but it tried to imply, I wonder what the African American community is going to want. Well, ladies and gentlemen, here in New York City, a component of New York State, I hope we begin to ask ourselves, what do we want this year? We have a new United States Senator who owes his election to us. And we have a lot of problems which need to be solved. I don't know if you guys remember, but the last time I checked, a couple of months ago, there was a march in this city. I don't know what your position on it was, but the march that took place was a march about our young people. The march came together because there was a concern that not enough was being done for our young people. There was a concern there weren't enough youth programs. There was a concern there weren't any summer youth jobs. There was a concern that our schools are falling down. Last time I checked in Washington, they can do something about that. So I would hope that what we be about the business of doing is holding our federal representatives, which now U.S. Senator Chuck Schumer is a leader in, and make sure that he does something about it, but make sure we stay on his case to make sure it is done. There's another thing that article sort of showed me. I remember a couple of years ago, might have been last year, a certain reverend decided to run in the Democratic primary for mayor. And he did surprisingly well. I don't know if he thought he was a symbolic candidate. I don't know if he thought he was running to run. But the brother almost won the nomination. Some of us would argue that it was stolen from us. Well, let me tell you something. On Tuesday, there was an effort to steal some votes. But some of us were about the business of pulling out our votes so much that we made sure that in this city, that the black belt came out so much, there was going to be no question of who was going to win that race. Let me make a suggestion without getting myself in trouble. In 2001, if we had the same level of turnout in this community, I would dare say we might be able to elect a black mayor in this city. And I'm not trying to start any trouble, Reverend. But I would dare also say that if that same candidate who chose to run last year runs this time with the same level of turnout, we might be able to call City Hall Sharpton Hall. So let us be about the business of drawing up our list of what we want and knowing who we want to work on putting in 2001. Thank you very much.
Joe Haslip. I kind of like Joe. District leader from Harlem, a product of this movement, our sister, our friend, Teresa Friedman.
I like to say I know that I'm at home. And because of you all, I can say that I am the district leader of the 70th Assembly District, Part A, in which you're in. And I like to say to Joe Haslip, Reverend Sharpton is already our mayor. He has been my mayor ever since he ran in 1992, 94, and I don't care how many times. He will always be my mayor, my senator, my congressman, everybody. And I just like to say to Congressman Serrano, he said, oh, people wouldn't talk to me because I was with Reverend Sharpton. They told me I was crazy. I remember I called Reverend Sharpton up and said that they told me, well, you were two friends, Dr. Ramona Whaley and Beverly Austin. They already crazy. Teresa, you know, we can do something for you. Now, I've been in New York City 20 years, and believe me, I've been in practically every campaign there is that has been in New York City and has been successful. But they told me they were going to do something for me if I didn't work for Reverend Sharpton. I said, well, I wish you had done it then because I sure needed help back then. So I just want to say to you, I really appreciate you, and you're always in my heart. And you know, election is coming up this year, and I hope you be there for me again. And Reverend Sharpton, you know I'm going to call on you because I called Reverend Sharpton. I said, Reverend Sharpton, you know, I used to talk about you when I used to run around with you during the election, talk about all these meetings. I said, Reverend Sharpton, I am so tired. I didn't know you have to do all of this, and you're not running for office. Could you imagine if you was running for office again and all the running, and people used to say you don't want to talk to me? I didn't want to talk to nobody when I got finished with my election. And I also like to say to the Hispanic council person, when I won my election, I really didn't think I had won because something had happened. And I didn't think I had won the election. And I got a phone call from Fred Samuel's Democratic Club, Mr. David T. Watson. And he said, Teresa, you not only beat them, excuse me, Rev, because sometimes I used to curse and I always was apologetic when I cursed around Rev. But he said, you just beat their ass.
All these politicians with these foul mouths. From Long Island, we all know and love another person that has grown with us in the movement, Sister Dr. Soretta McKnight.
All right, Dr.
Dr. Shaw. God bless you. I believe in God and his divine order for the universe, and certainly I'm privileged to be blessed to come from an ancestry which gave the world civilization. The blood which flows through these veins is royal of the queens and kings of Africa. I reaffirm my commitment to that ancestry and to the present day struggle of our people educationally, economically, socially, and politically. And I'm not going to start off this afternoon, beloved, by talking about that victory on Tuesday. Let me start off by saying that the stage was set so many years ago. But more recently, if we go back a year ago to what happened in New York, then we can determine, or we would be able to clearly see that that just prefaced what happened this past year. You see, when Sharpton ran for mayor, and so many folks stayed home, a lot of us came out, but so many stayed home. And then they said there might be a runoff, and folks was like, what runoff? Oh yeah, we got to have that runoff because I'm going to go vote for Al Lynn. No. It was like wake-up call. It was like, wait a minute, what did we do? People are quick to talk about we had an African mayor at one time, and I love my big brother David Dinkins. We all served at times and places, but the reality was that here was a representative that we could have sent. And when we woke up, it was a little bit late. So what happened was that this time, we said, well, we're not going to sleep on it, because since it's time for us to mobilize, since it's time for us to be clear, since it's time for us to remember what Fannie Lou Hamer was doing down in Atlantic City, since it's time to remember the work of Schwerner, Goodman, and Cheney, since we want Medgar to be happy and Dr. King's legacy to live on, we've got to be prepared and do what we have to do. So Tuesday wasn't a surprise to me. You see, D'Amato hails from our neck of the woods. They think out in suburbia that the struggle's a little bit different. Yeah, it's different because it's a whole lot harder. Because I got to search to look for folks that look like us sometimes, because you know, some of us got out there and done forgot. We took our mirrors down so we don't have to be reminded. But then there are those of us who are clear and very, very consistent. So D'Amato, because when we ran a few years ago, when I ran for the legislature, and Brother Sharpton came and supported, and he bought Patterson and Seabrook and a few other folks, what have you. And one of the things that was so outrageous was Al said, well, we got to tie in D'Amato, because D'Amato running around talking about what's not going to be in Nassau County. And D'Amato worked this magic, I mean, like you wouldn't begin to believe. And I'm saying to myself, well, wait a minute. Why would a federal official be concerned with such a local election? But see, they're clear because they look at the bigger picture. But then I'm a student of the Sharpton School of Politics. So I'm a quick study. You understand what I'm saying? And what happened was the realization came that, okay, yeah, it's about that mobilization. It's about that unity party. It's about the National Action Network. It's about the work that we need to do as a people. But November 3rd wasn't a surprise. All it did for me was say, okay, 2001, we getting ready. Joe may not have said it. See, because I got to hear from the Rev, well, is it going to be the Senate seat? Because it's amazing how folks are already talking and lining up. I love Carl McCall. That's my brother. I love him. That's my brother. And these other individuals who suddenly out the woodwork, and maybe even D'Amato will come on the Republican side. But now, I can remember the 92 run. And I can remember the 94 run. That was before they took the preacher seriously. Now we know when they want to get elected, they got to come through the House of Justice. Now, and I'm not that good at math, and I'm a sit-down preacher. Chrissy, I'm not that good at math, but now, that was 92, the first senatorial run. The second senatorial run was 94. Then we turned around and ran for mayor of the city of New York, and would have gotten in if we had woken up early enough. So now, which way we going? We go in 2001 to take Gracie Mansion so we can set up a downtown office, or we going down to Washington? Which way are we going? That's all I want to know from the preachers. Which direction we moving in? And then when we suffering. We are suffering. We are not going to take it anymore. We are the original people. We will decide who, what, where, when, and why, because God has said that we are a great people. We are a blessed people. And so we got to go to work. So all I want to hear, and everybody else can talk about, well, I'm not going to make a comment now. I'm not going to make a statement now. I want to know which one we going after so we could get busy out on Strong Island. Start raising some of the dollars we need for that run. And then you all can get busy registering new voters because we know everybody done woke up now. We just can't let them go back to sleep, isn't that right? So I beseech you, beloved, to stay involved, get involved, continue to support our big brother and our friend, the work that goes on here at the National Action Network. And let's hold these folks accountable.
That's right.
We elect them, we put them in. Schumer's there. I give him credit for coming. Schumer supported me when I ran. Okay, fine. But now you in there. We have to keep them accountable. That is the key. And some of these same folks, because I wrote down some names here. I'm going to put them on paper in a minute. Some of my same brothers sitting up here. And a couple of sisters. And, oh, Reverend Sharpton. Oh, yeah, what we doing? And that, well, darling, when we get ready to call you this time, we don't want you saying, oh, shit, Sharpton, we supporting you behind the scenes, but we're not going to come out. No. We're not going to do that anymore.